Huh, I didn't know I missed the Owl House this much, and Follies at the Coven Day Parade is a great episode to pick it up again. When you ask me what's so great about it, however, a lot of sorta critiques for the episode pop up in my head, rather than what stood out about it. So let's figure out why that might be and what I think of this episode. Also, welcome to this potential video series, in which I've watched something twice, and then share my thoughts about it with you. And beware for spoilers for the whole show, and promotion material for future episodes. The first thing I really liked is the use of magic in this episode. Seeing Luce and Amity combine their magic felt great and innovative for the show and in general, also in terms of their teamwork as an official couple for the first time. I actually made a short video earlier this week, in which I elaborate on the scene more. So you could check that out for more thoughts on it. A more major thing I really liked, however, is how everything came together in this episode, and it kind of feels like something the whole season has led up to. It was generally just great to see Luce and Amity majorly interact after knocking, while the events from yesterday's lie also had a big play in the episode. We got to see how Rain is doing after the pretty big cliffhanger from last time, and we also got to see a different side of Kikimora, whose menacing nature has been very much established this season. The episode kind of feels like a follow-up to multiple previous episodes in the season, while also bringing all of these different stories together in one episode. The characters also clearly reference events from episodes like Ida's Requiem, Eclipse Lake, and Yesterday's Lie. Even the dragonish monster from Hunting Palisman plays a role. It all makes you really feel like everything that happens or has happened has impact and importance. On the other hand, all the references to previous episodes felt a little weird to me, as for the characters these events happened weeks ago, while for us it was over 6 months ago. And while I did rewatch some episodes to get a feel for the show again, it still felt a little weird. That might also partially be because the episode has so much stuff going on in it. This has been the case this whole season, with a lot of new information being dropped in almost every episode, making every season 2 episode important to the overarching story. I feel like this episode reaches the peak of that though, as everything I've already mentioned isn't even everything going on in this episode. The Plant Coven head Terra is also introduced, while King and Hootie have a small side story, and Willow has, what I feel like, quite an important moment for her with Amity. And then there's also Bellow's public face reveal being teased at the start, and thus kinda lurking over the whole episode. Again, this episode does a great job of catching you up with a lot of what has happened, following up on it and bringing it all together. And I'm extremely impressed with how they fit it all in 22 minutes, and doing that very well. So for that, definitely big props to the crew. But maybe that's partially why nothing stood out to me, because there's so much going on, that nothing really gets the chance to majorly stand out and take time to impress me. At least for me. So, as far as I know, just for me. Anyways, we knew from a panel that we'd get to see Kikimora's softer side, for example, but I didn't expect it so soon, and on my first viewing I felt like it came kind of out of nowhere. In her first appearance in the episode we immediately got to see her other side, which made me feel like it would have maybe been better to briefly show her malicious side of first, to remind us of who she is, and then introduce us to her soft side. Again, it's been 6 months and a short reminder could have maybe made it feel less random to me, because now she almost felt like she had become another character during hiatus. On my second viewing, however, it actually didn't really bother me that much, because I knew it was coming. So if anything, it's just a nitpick. But I think it might still be a reason of why her story here wasn't outstanding to me, and introducing her with her evil side here, might still have worked better in my opinion. Besides that, I kinda like the more sympathetic direction they went with her, but also feel like it depends on her future arc, if I truly think it's great. Her betrayal felt absolutely true to her character though, and was 100% the right way to go in my opinion. And the fact that Terra lied to her, means her goal to get out of the Emperor's Coven might still stand, which could be interesting for future episodes. Talking of Tara, I was a little disappointed by her debut. She really has some fun to her, being a somewhat creepy grandma, like Hama from Avatar: The Last Airbender. But at times, she felt kinda generic to me and not fun enough, compared to other characters. With Darius and Everwolf, I felt like mainly Darius was a fun solo character, while being a fun-fitting duo with Ever, while their presence also formed a great threat. They do a pretty great job at conveying Tara is a threat, mainly through Kikimora's fear of her and how she appears out of nowhere all the time, but for me, she didn't really have as much charm and fun as Darius had in his debut. From what I got though, she seems sneaky and like a trickster, and I honestly really like that, as you maybe wouldn't expect that from the Plant Coven head. Just like it was really fun how Darius was so precious of his clothing, contrasting with him controlling filthy slimy goo. The sneakiness doesn't always hit for me though, which makes her feel generically evil like I mentioned. Examples of this are when she asks Kiki if she was about to leave, or when she tells Luz the Emperor looks forward to meeting her. When she wishes them a happy Coven day after, the line delivery is more fun again though. Maybe it's just a me thing, but I feel like they didn't stick with the sneakiness all the time, which kinda pulled me out of her character a bit so now and then. Besides that, there's also just a little piece missing in some of her performance when she is sneaky, that doesn't make her as fun as I think she could have been to me. Some scenes with her I also interpret as her pretending to have good intentions, like when she offers tea to Rain. As the viewer, you feel she doesn't mean well though. Maybe I would have found her more unique if they hid her sneakiness a bit more, for example by reflecting her nice side more in her voice and how she speaks. It maybe would have made her a less fun character though, but it's fun to think about how that would have changed her and the episode as a whole. Initially this is also what I thought her personality would be like more. So yeah, a lot of this might also be expectation management. The power of Darius and Everwolf's debut was that there was no build up to it at all, and they appeared out of nowhere, no disrespect to their personalities. I wasn't even expecting we'd meet the Coven leaders at all, but after Ida's Requiem, I suspected we would at least meet more of them. And the promo we got for this episode batch basically confirmed Tara was gonna be in this episode, so my expectations might have skyrocketed a bit. That being said, I also don't think any of this is on Tara's voice actress, a voice director or anyone on the crew, and it's mostly me being overcritical and my expectations not aligning with reality. And you know what? Her appearance was also relatively brief, actually just like Darius and Everwolf, so I might like her more the potential next time we see her. In this episode she just didn't completely do it for me, and honestly, that's fine. Something I've also thought about is whether this episode would have worked better as the mid-season finale and last episode of Season 2A. But I think my definite answer to that is no. Because even though the references to previous episodes led to some oddities for me, a lot of the cliffhangers from Season 2A wouldn't have worked, would this episode have aired in the first Season 2 batch. While I'm still very curious to see what happens with them in the future, we would be less curious about how Rain would be doing. We would have also already known how Luz would resolve the emotional baggage from yesterday's lie, and would have had more satisfying Lumity moments during their relationship, meaning there'd also be less of that to look forward to, with the moments in this episode probably being less impact fun. Impact fun, that's impactful and fun combined. The ending of this episode would have made a pretty good mid-season ending though, but I think it makes an even better kick-off ending for Season 2B, like it is now. And I think that's what this episode is, a really good kick-off and setup for Season 2B, that catches you up with a lot of stuff that has happened in the first half of the season, while also setting up the rest of the season. And yes, that means it might be a little crowded and nothing might have stood out to me in particular, but it was still a great episode, if not one of my favorites of the season. And a characteristic of setup episodes is also that they're also long-term episodes, where more than with other episodes, you can only truly know how great they are once the season or whole show have finished. Because, that's also what a kick-off is for, right? At the time it does its job at making you excited for what's to come, while in hindsight being even better, because they amazingly set up that one storyline or arc that you turned out to love. In this episode for example, I didn't find the direction they went with Rain good, I didn't find it bad. It truly depends on where they go with them next to determine if their story in this episode works. Same with Kikimora, where I feel like I can truly like or dislike her arc in this episode, once it has fully finished. And who knows if Tara will have another shot at impressing me in the future. What I do feel like, is that the vague synopsis for the episode worked really well though, because my expectations for the episode were almost non-existent. Well, except Tara. If the synopsis would have mentioned Luz helping Kikimora or Amity suspecting Luz lying, my expectations would have probably been too high and I would have come out disappointed. And while nothing about their stories here stood out to me, seeing them and the other surprise characters was definitely a nice surprise. And if the same goes for the remaining episodes, I'm looking forward to get surprised even more. But not too much looking forward to it, because then I might come out disappointed. Man, this is complex. Summary: great episode. Insert star rating here.